We want to bring in NBC's Camila Bernal in Los Angeles. Peter Baker is a New York Times White House correspondent and, of course, MSNBC political analyst. Retired Army Colonel Jack Jacobs is a Vietnam vet, a recipient of the Medal of Honor, and an MSNBC military analyst. And Barbara McQuaid is a former U.S. attorney, law professor at the University of Michigan, and what else? An MSNBC legal analyst. Peter, I want to start with you. Ending the protests in L.A. is what the administration is saying is their stated goal. But are you hearing anything about how the White House feels about the protests spilling over to other cities? We've talked about how the White House this is a fight the White House is willing to have. Are they okay with this happening if it kind of proves their point?
Well, it certainly puts the issue of immigration front and center, and that's an issue that the president has most wanted to emphasize since taking office. The images of ICE agents rounding up, immigrants and arresting them for deportation is exactly the message he's trying to show, exactly the message he's trying to send. And if there are protests in response, particularly if the protests turn in some cases violent, then from his point of view, in a political sense, this is okay with him because it shows he is a tough man and he is attacking what he considers to be, one of the major problems of the country. Now, if you actually look at the numbers, he hasn't come anywhere near what he's promised to do in terms of deportations. That's why images are important, because the numbers aren't actually backing up what he said he would do. He said he would get rid of all 11 million people who are in this country illegally by the time he's done with his 4 years term. There's no way he would get anywhere close to that. There's nowhere close. He wouldn't even get a fraction of that at the pace that they're going. But because they've done some of these arrests in such a spectacular and public fashion with ICE agents, with masks on and in public places, they're exercising a show of force that he wants to display to the public.
Yeah, Colonel, the political theater element of this seems important, and I want to ask how you feel about does putting the National Guard and troops on the streets of one American city lower the threshold for bringing them into other places, especially if we see these protests start to expand across the country?
Well, it almost certainly does. But it's interesting to address the capabilities, the forces we're talking about. The National Guard belongs to the governor. For them to be deputized by the federal government means that there is some threat that can't be addressed at the local level, at the state level. The National Guard trains often to in these kinds of situations for crowd control and so on, to restore order in exactly these kinds of situations. But to bring in active duty troops, that's different altogether. And at some juncture, they're not capable of doing this because they don't train to do these kinds of things, whereas National Guard troops do. The National Guard troops belong to the governor, who is fully capable of employing them to do the kinds of crowd control things the federal government is looking to do. But put them under the auspices of the federal government does lower the threshold for them to be used elsewhere in similar situations, Christina.
And Camila, the mayor of Los Angeles imposed this curfew. It seemed to keep things a little calmer last night than it was previously. I know she's been out in front of cameras today. What have we heard from her so far?
Yeah, Mayor Karen Bass saying that it worked, that it was effective. That curfew went into effect at around 8 p.m. local time, and a few hours later, things were calm in the streets of L.A. And we have seen some of that throughout the last couple of days when they declare an unlawful assembly. And so what they did last night was they arrested a number of people for unlawful assembly and for violating that curfew. The mayor did say there were arrests that were made for those violations, but for the most part, she believes that this was successful. Another thing that she really likes to point out is that of LA, there's about 500 square miles, and the curfew only implemented in about 2 of those square miles. So it really represents the size of the protest in comparison to LA as a whole. She did say that there are people who like to start the fights, who like to escalate things, but she says that is not everyone. Take a listen.
Are there dangerous individuals that are here in Los Angeles? Yes. Are we harboring them? No. I think that the idea that what is going on here is chaos and we need federal intervention is just not accurate. It doesn't paint an accurate picture of what's going on here at all.
And in addition to the arrests that they made last night over the curfew, there were also a lot of arrests that were made after those protesters tried to get on the 101 freeway. Officials saying that's not going to happen. They're also saying there needs to be a stop to the looting and the graffiti in downtown Los Angeles. And Mayor Bass saying that did not happen last night, although it has happened over the last couple of days. There's another protest scheduled for today. Things were mostly peaceful yesterday. We're waiting to see what happens today as this back and forth continues. But the one thing they keep pointing back to is the start of these protests. It's the raids, the way in which the Trump administration has gone out to essentially detain a lot of the people here in Los Angeles who are undocumented. And there is this sort of fear that they'll go to your workplace, that they'll go to the schools, that you'll see federal agents. And there is a lot of a large undocumented population here in Los Angeles. They're sort of in the makeup of the Los Angeles population. People believe that they're their neighbors, their friends. They see them every day. So there's definitely that fear when you talk about raids here in Los Angeles. And there's a lot of people here who don't want to see the National Guard on their streets. And of course, they also don't want to see the Marines here.
And Barbara, the governor has asked for this emergency intervention to stop the troop deployment. He didn't get it, but there's a hearing set for tomorrow. Tell us about that hearing and how you think it could change the dynamic on the ground, especially if this trend continues where the protests seem to be calming down a little bit, at least for now.
Yes, the state of California filed a lawsuit arguing that the use of federal troops in this situation violates the law. Although they didn't get that temporary restraining order yesterday, the court set a very quick hearing for tomorrow. So I don't know that that should in any way suggest that the judge thinks that the case is not strong on the merits. I think they just wanted both sides to be present so that the court could get a hearing from both sides of this argument, because it presents some sort of novel legal issues. We haven't seen this exercise of presidential power before. So the thing that the state of California is pointing to is a provision in the statute that allows the president to call up a state's National Guard that says it shall issue through the office of the governor. Shall is the word there. In no way did the Trump administration reach out to the governor's office in this instance. And in fact, the governor says, we don't want you here. You are riling things up. You are making it worse. And so they allege that's a violation of the president's authority, of the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which gives power to the states, and the Administrative Procedure Act, which prohibits the federal government, federal agencies from entering into any order that is arbitrary or capricious. So we'll see what happens in that hearing tomorrow. I think one thing that is more disturbing, perhaps, is the addition of the Marines, who have now joined in the effort with the National Guard. There is some legal argument to be made that the National Guard belongs there, but sending in the Marine Corps now brings in a different authority. It's not really specified other than the Insurrection Act, which the president has not invoked, and is what seems to be an invocation of the president's inherent power under the Constitution. So this is an escalation of presidential power that President Trump is asserting, and it'll be very interesting to see whether a court reins that in or blesses it.